Alright guys, welcome back to Let's Play Final Fantasy VIII on the Series KG, and I just had to beat the boss again, because the thing I tried to do to pause the ending, so I could split the video, I think caused us to miss some ending text. Don't know for sure. And that didn't take a long time to defeat the boss. I did a decent chunk of it on triple speed. Ended up having Irvine in the party at the end. We never got Titus to come join the party. Irvine got to use some of his limit breaks, even though the only attack command he had available was attack, because nothing was junctioned. His limit breaks are dependent on ammo, so he still did some damage. But anyway, here is the ending of Final Fantasy VIII. Irvine, who earned his chance to be in the ending this time. He didn't really earn it last time. Is it over? Is my ponytail still sexy? Let's go. Let's go back to our time. I got women to grope. Well, I might not have mixed... Yeah, I just missed a couple seconds worth of people running. I don't know if I missed... Oh, no, shut up. Just calm down and think where we have to go. I did miss some stuff, so it's a good thing I redid that. Careful, guys. Don't pick the wrong time. Whatever you do, don't fall into a time warp. You guys are just making shit up now. You don't know any of this. So time compression is unraveling. Time, place, who I want to be with. Well, we know who you want to be with. I want to go there. We're Squall and I promise. It's like your only character trait is you're in love with Squall. Oh, and you have a dog. And you run with your arms out to the side. Is this the place where we agreed to meet? Seems awfully white. Squall! You must be at an Elks Hall, eating, like, Norwegian food. It's very white. I don't know what I'm saying. Squall, let's go home. Where are you? I'm in a zone of all black. Where am I? Squall, where are you going? Hurry up, come to the white place. Don't go to the black place. You're at the wrong lodge. David Lynch is disappointed. I'm gonna find Sis. You really gotta develop interest in women you aren't related to, kid. It's part of growing up. Squall. Matron. My chance to kill her at last. How the hell did I make her talk? She's just kind of like... whatever. Excuse me, have you seen a little boy? Oh, Matron. You don't have to worry. That boy won't go anywhere. He'll never accomplish anything in his life. I think so too. Poor thing. But there's nowhere for him to go. He's trapped on Centrocontinent. You're alive? I could have sworn I killed you. The sorceress. Yes, Matron. We had defeated her. Matron, stand back. It's okay. There's no more need to fight. That was the final boss you defeated. This is just the ending scene. That sorceress is just looking for someone to pass her powers on to. In order to die in peace, the sorceress must be free of all her powers. I know, for I am one too. It's in the sorcerer's manual. I shall take over that sorceress's powers. I do not want one of the children to become one. So there's like... I can't disappear yet. They're serious. Matron. There's serious temporal paradox going on here now, but... It's only by absorbing your powers that she was able to do the things that led to her death, which means that her powers go to you, and... Oh, yeah. Is this the end? Nah, I don't think so. Most likely. What a great line, most likely. You called me Matron. Who are you? Did you mean that it's most likely the end for me, or... A seed. A seed from Balam Garden. This game's not giving me time to make fun of its dialogue. Seed? Garden? Both garden and seed were your ideas, although now I'm giving them to you, so I'm also causing a temporal paradox. Garden trained seeds. Seeds are trained to defeat the sorceress. I still don't know why the last D... The D in seeds is capitalized. What are you saying? What the hell's your deal? You're that boy from the future. The future warrior? Matron. I'm Matron. Please return. You do not belong here. I wish I knew how, frankly. I got a girlfriend waiting for me if I can get out of here. I can't find Sis. She wasn't at the first place I looked. Am I all alone? Oh, alone is your sis. Who's he? Oh, come on, Squall. You can't be that thick. Nobody. You don't need to know. Oh, little Squall is asking you that. I'm sorry. The only Squall permitted here is you. I'm about to kick that one out on his ass. Do you know where to go back to? Do you know how? Could you help me if I didn't? Will you be alright by yourself? I have been for my entire life so far. I'll be alright, Matron. Here, read between the lines, lady. Now that you guys have had Invincible Mooncasting you, because I'm not alone. I'm not alone anymore. That's my Roy Orbison impression. What do you think? If I call offensive, where is everyone? Why aren't you guys answering me? How come you're all in a void of white and I'm in a void of black? Renoa, where are you? Zell, Selby, Kitus, Irvine, maybe even. Renoa. Mostly Renoa. I mean, any of you guys would be fine, but Renoa in particular. Am I alone? Renoa, I want to hear your voice. Which way do I go? Give me orders. Order me not to die. I can't make it back alone. Renoa. He's not generally whiny, but this is kind of a crappy situation. Am I all alone again? Where am I? And it leads directly into Kingdom Hearts. You'd never know. They knew Kingdom Hearts was coming like 15 years in advance and set up the ending so that he transfers into Kingdom Hearts world. That is not, in fact, what's going to happen. He's on dry skin planet. I mean, maybe this is what Centra continent is supposed to look like. I'm not clear on that. But it really just seems to be its own new lifeless void that comes out of time compression. There's that desert you have to cross when you die at the end of Small Gods by Terry Pratchett. Yeah, it's kind of a hopeless situation. This is shaping out to be a very depressing ending. Without a mini-map, how do I know which direction to go? It could be that, like, Balam Garden was just out of sight behind him and he started walking in the wrong direction. It's very frustrating. Suddenly, now that there's no dialogue to make fun of, I bet you I suddenly can pause. Okay, I can't pause. Still. Wonder if you guys will ever be able to see this ending, or if it's going to get blocked in all countries like Final Fantasy XIII. I'll have to make some crappy montage. I remember really liking the ending of this game when I first played it. Because it's pretty bleak at this point. Some kind of, like, desert disco with the sky behind him. It's all disco-y. Weird. Meanwhile, Renoa has found a slightly cheerier place. It's all dark and cloudy, but at least she's on grass. It would be pretty depressing for her to save the world and do all this stuff, and, like, the only person she really cared about saving is the one person she didn't save. But Renoa didn't save anybody. Who the hell am I kidding? She's been a victim for the whole game. Squall, on the other hand, a little bit more noble if, like, you save everyone but yourself. A white feather. Who do I know who sheds those? Yeah, Renoa's got a lot of weird symbolism going on. White feathers for her angel's wings, but she goes around riding on a dog, so it would be just as appropriate for him to find dog hair falling from the sky and realize, Renoa, she must be alive. Hey, you. Hey. He's not shouting like 2 syllables. He's going, hey. He's not going Renoa. He's just going, hey. Oh, no. They put rubbing alcohol in his Visine bottle. He'll never be able to save himself if he can't focus in on Renoa inexplicably pointing at the ceiling while asking him to dance. This must be what he saw when he poured that wine directly into his eyeball before. It, like, obscured his vision like this. Because I was at that same party. He pours wine directly into his eyeball, and suddenly Renoa comes up to him. Hey, I'm here, by the way. She didn't tell you to meet her at the dance. She told you to meet her in that field. And now they're wedding rings, which are basically two... Oh, now... Apparently these aren't Renoa's flashbacks, because she wasn't there for the giant spider mech. Lovely flashback to Renoa being kidnapped by Seifer. Hi, I'm here in Galbadia for some reason. Presumably he pulls his shit together and gets out of this, because I think time compression is messing with his memories, but they are pretty much all about Renoa, or spider robots. One or the other. Hey, check me out. We're dancing, and it's incredibly disorienting. Suddenly he realizes he's dancing with Zell. Yeah, the Griever rings were apparently their wedding bands symbolize, because they keep showing 2 rings together on a chain now. Yeah, whatever. And the dog hair, I mean white feather, falls. Yet again. The end. Thanks for playing. Stay tuned for Final Fantasy IX. Cannot take screenshot now. Thanks, PS4. Thanks for giving me a heads up that this will probably be blocked. The game's like 20 freaking years old, guys. Come on. Well, if you're not gonna come find me, I guess I'll come to your hell dimension of, like, dry, cracked skin and rescue your sorry ass. Yeah, that's what... She somehow finds him, even though he's the one who failed to go to where they were supposed to meet. Come on. It's time for you to motorboat him. Just like Seifer a couple of videos back. And their song that symbolizes their love, which was sung by her mom for his dad. Nothing weird about that. This is the song that's playing now is the love song written by her mother for his father. And it is their love song. That is what's happening right now, guys. But anyway, apparently this is the place they were supposed to meet, or rather she transformed it into that. Oh no! My hay fever! Not now! And the ending proper begins. Now we get to find out the fate of Seifer, a character that we all deeply love and care about and really want to see good things happen for him. He's stopped being dictator of Galbadia and is now fishing with his friends. The mass murders committed during his brief reign, all but forgotten. Raijin caught a bigger fish than him, so Fujin punishes him for showing up their boss. Seifer thinks it's hilarious that others are punished for having personal success in their lives. But then, he's forced to stop and think when he sees the garden flying overhead. About the fact that he brutally betrayed everyone that he ever knew, including these two. He's like, I guess it's good that I didn't take over the world. I would have been pretty bad at it. Who else does the story think we care about? Laguna. Laguna's actually kind of the most tragic character in the whole thing when you think about it, because as we're about to see, his thoughts go to a flashback. Yeah, Squall gets his girlfriend. Laguna doesn't really get his. Because she's, this is a flashback to Rain. Check out this ring I got. It's got Griever on it. Pretty cool, huh? Yep, so apparently he had proposed marriage right before he decided to disappear and not come back. I don't remember if the game explains how she died. I think she just dies. It happens. So presumably, had he hung around, she still would have died. They just would have been able to spend their last days together. Yeah, but this is actually pretty sad if you think about it. As goofy a character as Laguna was, he's got more tragedy than anyone else in the game, really. He's also got the Irvine ponytail. So anyway, he's the president of, like, future high-tech land, which is presumably going to shit because of the aliens dropping from the sky and the fact that they have an incompetent leader. But he still finds the time to visit Rain's grave, which is nice. And there's Alone and his friends, just to indicate, hey, no wallowing in self-pity. You have to be happy or pretend to be for us. I don't care that my mom's dead. I'm happy. Ah! Which, you know, that's a little harsh, but it's not her mom anyway, actually. I think it's just the woman who was raising her. And again, everybody's personal reflections are interrupted by a giant, never properly explained space station flying overhead. Why aren't they flying around in Ragnarok? Ragnarok's way cooler anyway. So it's a very strange ending scene, because basically there's you find out, okay, Renoa and Squall find each other despite time compression. That's sweet and all. Then we cut to Seifer and his friends fishing. Then, oh, Laguna's sad because his love of his life is still dead. Then, credits. So, Selphie is presumably going around with a camcorder because they have those. Irvine's being a douchebag. Gaius is trying to ignore him. None of these characters have had any character development or story for themselves for at least 2 discs, by the way. But it's still it's a fun. It's one of my favorite all-time, like, ensemble teams in an adventure story. Or an adventure game, I should say. It kind of works, despite the fact that most of them don't really have a whole lot of story or motivation. It still works. I like the cast of this game, even the ones I made fun of, like Zell and Irvine. And Kaitis congratulating Sid for his awesome variety of different voices that he does, and for being an incredibly ineffective leader of Seed. But the real person who's in charge, who is no longer dressed as an evil sorceress, is also hanging out. I just want to thank you for having some level of competence, Kaitis. Even if you quit being an instructor because you said you were terrible at it. Hi, folks. I guess I went to a different garden, which is all evil, but still grateful that you guys raised me, even if you seem to forgot about me and sent me to the evil orphanage, evil garden instead of the good garden. And now Irvine takes over the camera so that Selphie can wear his hat, I guess. And they just wave and don't really have a whole lot else going on. Hey, you point that thing, you point your male gaze this way, mister, not at those anonymous chicks. Look, Zell must exist. He hasn't appeared in the ending yet. And he's there eating hot dogs and having the pigtail girl, his 2 defining character traits. It took the entire game, but after saving the world, he is rewarded with hot dogs, and everyone laughs at him, and he chokes. And this, as ludicrous as this sounds, I think just the fact that they had the classic Final Fantasy theme playing, I might have gotten choked up at this point the first time I played the game. It's like, I'll beat up anybody who saves me from choking on hot dogs. Which inexplicably cuts to this. I don't know why I have these pockets on my ass, but we finally have confirmation they're part of my character design and not just a weird thing that shows up in my combat model. Oh, here we go. Now it's time for the makeout session. Sadly, the battery runs out before we can watch them get it on. Because this is truly what the game has been building up to, for real. Of all the ending scenes ever in the Final Fantasy series, This one takes the least effort to actually explain how any story elements whatsoever are resolved, and is the ultimate final confirmation of something that you should have suspected long ago. The only point of this game is Squall and Renella sitting in a tree, or Renoa sitting in a tree. Kissing. That really is the entire point of the story. Why do they have different action actors from the other actors? Oh, and there's a guy who gets credit just for doing Zell's backflip, which only shows up in one cinematic. Anyway, yeah, I don't know why they would have actors and then action actors, considering that this game wasn't voice acted. But it is what it is. Hey, Hiro Matsuda. That's not actually a name that appeared there at all. Yeah, so, what else did I mean to say about this? I kind of hit upon... Yeah, the ending is really weird. You have a kind of dramatic, drawn-out thing about Squall trying to get back, and Renoa and Squall ultimately finding each other, and that being the key to them both getting back to their own world. And you have a little bit of dialogue in an epilogue where we find out that the Sorceress Ultimecia passed on her powers, but that everything's still going to be okay. Then they decide the two characters that we really need to know what happens with them are Seifer and Laguna. Fair play with Laguna, but Seifer? I guess I'm glad I know what happened to him, but I would have thought something more dramatic than he went fishing with his friends happened to him after his, stint as dictator of a military country, which was, kidnapping children and murdering people all over the place. But we wrap up the game where we began at the garden. Basically a giant fantasy high school. Like, man, wouldn't your life be cool if you lived in the garden? Fucking fantasy high school where you learn how to be a hero. Hot chicks fall in love with you, or hot guys if you are into that. And you can also fly around. Seems like a pretty good deal. So, Squall, is there any point where we're going to actually get away from these other people and spend some time alone? Is even a remote possibility with you? Are we literally going to save the world together, and then you suddenly go back to pretending that you don't like me? Oh, he's smiling. Happy Squall. Happy Squall is worse Squall. That's why we never see him again in the Kingdom Hearts games. I never played the Kingdom Hearts games. I've never played Final Fantasy Dissidia, any of those games that pull back characters from old games. But some of these characters live on in those, but this game never got a real sequel, so if you have fondness in your heart for any of these characters, just know that they live forever in our hearts, having a hot dog party in their flying high school. Final Fantasy VIII, copyright 1999, the end. Good game. I don't know if there were things happening in my life at the time that made me particularly vulnerable to a sappy game about friends. Like, you hear about people who, like, got through really tough times in their life by, like, something like, X-Men comics is one I've heard of. Like, just people who felt really isolated and alienated, and they read X-Men comics, and it just, like, helped them get through tough times. I might have been going through a rough patch when Final Fantasy VIII came out. I don't really remember anything specific happening. It might have just come out in the middle of the summer where I was away from some of the friends that I was going to school with or something like that. But I definitely remember having really welcomed a chance to spend some time with this goofy cast of fantasy teenagers and having really enjoyed that aspect of the game. I remember enjoying the fact that if you were really meticulous about junctions and stuff, like if you cared enough to deep dive into the game mechanics, you could be pretty safe, because some of the Final Fantasy games are chock full of battles where you're constantly getting murdered. Like, Final Fantasy VIII is by no stretch one of the more difficult games in the Final Fantasy series. It really is not. I'm particularly glad that I got to defeat Omega Weapon and get all the cards, because that was the two big, major in-game accomplishments I'd never done in this game. But, yeah, now I'm just kind of blathering, but I'm just trying to... It's the last video, not separation anxiety so much, just trying to make sure there's nothing that I don't regret having not had a chance to say. Thanks to everybody who's been along with me on this journey. Just kind of a small group of people who were commenting as videos were going up live. Open up some comments here. Yeah, like Fauntleroy is somebody I do not remember. Maybe you've been commenting on my videos for a while and I didn't notice, but that's somebody I kind of noticed popping up for this. And some folks who travel along on quite a few of my journeys, like Mr. Shelton and Ravenite, and there's probably I'm looking at just recent comments. Broken Pancreas. I don't remember if you are a regular, but you've been commenting recently. So this is a dangerous thing to do because I'm going to forget somebody who's been commenting like nonstop and just didn't comment within the last couple of days, so I don't see their name. But yeah, it seems like a couple of folks showed up who I didn't remember. Like they just seemed to join me for this LP who weren't already longtime fans of the channel. And Sweeplo Roblo, who's got an actual Final Fantasy VIII themed icon, which suggests he probably popped up for this LP. But yeah, just like just folks hanging out in the comments section. It's always fun. This is one of those where I didn't feel like I was getting tons of views, but the people who were watching were participating and chiming in on the story because there's just so much goofy, weird stuff going on in the story of this game. Usually I do this before the final boss battle, but to recap the story of this is it's an exercise in madness. It's like, okay, you are a guy who is going to a fantasy college / high school, learning to be a hero, and your instructor is some hot woman who's like hitting on you, but you're not interested. And then you go out on a mission with some guy who's your rival that you kind of like, for some reason you really get on each other's nerves, but you're both like pushing each other to be the best. And you have this mission, and you come back from the mission, and you get promoted, and he doesn't. And the game doesn't really get going until you go on the mission to Timber, where you meet Renoa, who is, fairly quickly seems to fall in love with you. Although I guess you met her at that party before. But no, so it seems like the story is going to be about saving Timber, the town that she comes from. And her backstory, such as it is that she is a freedom fighter with this group of people, and she's their, quote, princess. Like, you get the impression all of the boys in this freedom fighter group are in love with her. But that gets derailed really quickly because you try to kidnap the president, but the real president ends up getting murdered by an evil witch who takes over the kingdom, and you spend the rest of the game trying to deal with this evil witch, but not really, because actually, after getting thrown in prison inexplicably, after failing to defeat the evil witch, you spend Act 2 just kind of going around trying to get back to Balam Garden to warn them about how Act 1 and your mission went to shit. By the time you actually you get control of the garden as an airship, as a plot event where you're trying to escape from the Galbadian missiles. I know I'm skipping over big chunks of story, but there's no real coherent narrative to most of this game. You get control of the airship once it becomes necessary for you to escape from the missile attack. But at that point, like, I don't even remember what you're trying to do. I guess you're trying to find a loan, who just is taken away from you right before you realize you need to talk to her to figure out what the hell's going on. So Disc 2 is mostly about getting back to the garden and then making your way up to the garden crash incident, where it's like you and Galbadia Garden being piloted by Seifer and his cronies are all looking for a loan, so you have a big battle there. The big point of that battle is that you defeat the sorceress Idea pretty much permanently, because in from Act 3 on, Idea is no longer controlled by evil sorcerer's power. I don't know why I'm recounting the plot of this game. It just makes no sense. The third act is mostly about going to Future Tech City and then going to space. And eventually you hatch a plan to just let the villain have what the villain's been trying to get all along, and beating up the villain in the future, compressed space-time, which kind of means like a whole bunch of the game could have just been bypassed if you just decided in Disc 1, before you even knew who Ultimecia was, yeah, just let Idea get a loan, and if we're hanging around when that happens, presumably we get to go to the future and stop evil. So, plot logic, non-existent. It's entirely a game about the characters who, for whatever reason, I found eminently likable. Even Zell. Like, you make fun of Zell, you can make fun of Irvine. I like them. I liked Squall. I even liked Renoa. Renoa's the one who probably suffered the most, like replaying the game again and years later. I remember having liked Renoa as a love interest for Squall. I still think she's a good love interest for Squall, but playing it again years later, it's like, wow, I'd forgotten how worthless she's. Like, when Squall's not in trouble and she's not trying to save Squall, which happens once or twice, like, she goes to help Squall out when he's trapped in the prison, and she's, like, making Irvine help and stuff. Like, she seems pretty proactive. At all other times, like, if Squall is around to protect her, she becomes useless. She talks about how she's too scared to fight when others aren't with her to make her strong, but the only time she ever does anything is when it's kind of, when Squall's not there to, like, pick it up and do it for her. So she does come across as a bit of a victim, but at the same time, just the fact that she's, enthusiastic without being, like, Riku about it is nice, because that's certainly what Squall needs. I'm going off on a long tangent about nonsense now. But yeah, I always really liked Final Fantasy VIII. I'm glad I finally got a chance to do it on my channel. I expect I will now never play the game again. There's a part of me that suspects one of these days I'm going to replay Final Fantasy X, even though I've already done the most comprehensive Let's Play of it possible. But Final Fantasy VIII, I think I might finally have having played it through here, may have packed it up for good. The Griever symbol, just all these little individual elements that seemed like they could have been explained. Griever's one. The Cetra ruins, how the Lunar Cry actually works, what the deal is with the sorcerers is in history. So many things that they just didn't bother to explain, because at the end of the day, it's about building up a love story between two characters, which they managed, in spite of all the goofiness, to pull off. And possibly my favorite Wedge and Biggs ever, because, like, 3/4 of the way through the story, they're just like, fuck it, let's leave the evil empire and just screw it. Screw it. We're going home. That I always appreciated that. And really is just, it's about Renault and Squall. Nobody else really gets an ending, per se. I mean, Seifer gets more of an ending than, say, Kaidas, who had been your first ever party member that you get to go out and do combat with. She gets less of an ending than Seifer, and Seifer's ending isn't exactly the most epic ending ever. But I got about 30 minutes out of the ending scene, so that's enough to call it a video and to call this a Let's Play. Give me your thoughts in the comments. I'm going to have to pick my next thing to Let's Play before you guys have a chance to tell me, oh, thank you for playing this. I really wish you would play X game next. I'm probably not going to have time to see those comments before I've had to pick something to start recording. But yeah, let me know in the comments what games you think would be fun to watch me play, and I'll certainly think about them for next time. I hope anybody who dropped in just because they love Final Fantasy VIII will consider checking out some of my other RPG LPs, even if it's... I've never understood why people don't like watching old LPs. I guess it's that feeling you're not involved if you're I always read the comments people do on my old videos. But yeah, some people are like, oh, the LP's already finished, I want to watch one as it's going up. No, man, if you like my stuff. Done a bunch of other Final Fantasy games and some other Fire games, whatever. I don't know why I'm plugging my channel, like press like, subscribe, join my Patreon. I never do any of those things. I don't even have a Patreon. I think I really do have separation anxiety. I'm not ready for Final Fantasy VIII to be done. But it is. So, tune in next time for something that isn't Final Fantasy VIII, because Final Fantasy VIII is, sadly, behind us. Thanks for watching, guys. I had fun. I hope you did too. Bye-bye.